examples of brand new green card recipients, including both new arrivals and adjustees, and this is critical. A person can get a green card when they're away. Say they are living in Bolivia, they get a green card, they show up in the U.S. with a green card. That's a new arrival. Or a person can be studying in the U.S. or a temporary worker in the U.S. and adjust to legal permanent residence and that way get the green card. Many previous designs for this type of longitudinal study had excluded adjustees. And yet adjustees are critically important behaviorally, and numerically it turns out they're over half the set of new green card recipients, about 55–56%. So this new design would obtain information about the citizen immigrant plus family members in the household, family members elsewhere, others in the household, and children, including those born in Bolivia. It would re-interview them periodically. This is the longitudinal aspect. Also obtain histories, retrospective, as well as prospective, and do child assessments. So this basically tells us how to get that first set of persons in the sample. Now, because this design had never been tried before, nobody knew if it would work, and if it would work, how much would it cost, and how could one make it cost effective? We did a pilot. And it turns out that that pilot, based on people who got their green cards in 1996, has been very useful substantively. And I believe, and I hope I can persuade you that it will continue to be very important, provided, as you will see in one of my last slides, provided it is possible to do some linkage to administrative records. The 2003 cohort is the first major cohort of the United. So you see here the target population was everybody who got their green card in 7 months of 2003. I'm going to skip a lot of the fine points of the design because we really don't have time, but all the information is on the web, and of course you can write me and I can supply you to send you the information. The bottom line is that it's a nationally representative sample. Now, language. Immigrants appear with lots and lots of native languages. So early on, the team of PIs developed a basic principle. This was interview all respondents in the language of their choice. This means that it would be possible to show up at a home and use one language for the sample adult immigrant, a different language for that sample adult immigrant's spouse, and still a different language for that immigrant's child, age-eligible child. Okay? This was extremely demanding. We worked very hard to develop a protocol that I'm going to skip over, except to tell you that at baseline round, interviews were conducted in 95 languages. By the way, that has an effect on mode, because it wasn't always possible to find an interviewer or an interpreter with the right language at the right place. And so in those cases, interviews were conducted. And you can ask me more about mode. The response rate, which for the population at that time in the U.S. is more than respectable. You see here, 68% for the adult sample and 64% for the child sample. I will skip over this. This is very fine detail. Questionnaires covered everything. You might be interested that any immigration researcher
en tema de inmigración y las valoraciones
So the idea was to have subsequent rounds every 3 to 4 years, plus choose
de
a new
elegir
cohort,
una nueva
either 5
cohorte,
years later
si hacia
or
5 años
whenever
después o
some
cuando
big change
algún gran
in the
cambio
world
se llevará a cabo a nivel
warranted.
mundial.
That new cohort
Esa nueva
has not
cohorte
materialized,
no se ha
and
materializado
hopefully I will have a couple of
y
minutes
creo
to
que
tell
tendré
you
un par de
about
minutos
that.
para decirles sobre
There's
esto.
something about the
Algo
integration
sobre la
of climate
inmigración, el
change
clima de
in the United
inmigración que ha
States,
cambiado en
and
Estados
we can no
Unidos y
longer,
que no
at the
podemos
present
ya
time,
al
we can no
momento, no
longer
podemos
draw a
ya
random sample of the
tener
population
un
in
muestreo al
facing.
sobre esto.
If you're interested,
Si
you
estás
can ask me
interesado en
more
esto,
about
puedes
that.
preguntarme
I
más
have
de
every
esto.
hope
Tengo todas
that
las
that
esperanzas
privacy curtain
de
will be lifted.
que la corte
And that there
se
will
llevará a
again
cabo
be
y que de
another
nuevo
cohort.
habrá una nueva
And of course,
cohorte
aligned with
y
that, there's
junto
other
a esto
information
habrá más
we
información
want.
que
You're going to see a little bit
veremos,
more about that.
veremos un
And it
poquito de esto
depends, our
y
getting it
depende
depends on that privacy curtain.
en que se
Okay,
levante
here you
esa
see the
privacidad.
language design
Aquí
for
están
the
los
second
diseños
round.
de
And
los
as you can
idiomas
see,
para la
we
segunda
learned from
ronda
the first
y
round,
vemos
we learned
que
that there
aprendimos
were
de la
some
primera ronda
languages
que
we
había
had not
idiomas que
planned,
no habíamos
which were
planeado
important.
integrar.
And again, we
Y de
have
nuevo
the teams
tenemos
of
los equipos
interviewer
de
and interpreter.
intérprete y entrevistador.
The questionnaires
El
in the second
cuestionario
round
en el
update
segundo
all information
round
from round one.
tiene
Child
toda la
history,
información de la ronda 1,
history,
toda la
for example,
información, toda la
language
historia,
use,
el uso del
religion.
idioma, la religión.
And in the child
Y
sample,
en
children
el
who
muestreo
reach 18
infantil,
years of
aquellos
age
que ya tenían 18
are now
años ahora
administered
están
the
siendo
adult
administrados
questionnaire from the first
y
round.
se les entrega el cuestionario
Bring them
el
into
adulto
the
de la
adult
primera ronda.
The response rate
La
was
tasa de respuesta fue de
45%
45%
in the second
en la
round.
segunda
And
ronda.
this, after much
Después
thinking
de
and
pensarlo mucho
discussing
y discutirlo
and reviewing
y
protocols
ver
and
los
sitting down with
protocolos
all the field
y
organizations.
reunirnos con las organizaciones.
This is the
En
2006, 2007,
2007,
2008 are
2008
the years
son
when
los
the
años
immigration
cuando
climate
el
in
clima
the
de
US
inmigración en Estados
changed
Unidos cambió
drastically and
drásticamente y rápidamente.
Part of what
Parte de
happened
lo que
is
sucedió
that everyone
es que
became
todos
afraid of deportation.
se espantaron de la deportación y como ustedes saben, las figuras de la deportación, aquellos temores eran reales.
Now, there was a
Había
time when we thought
cuando nosotros
that
pensábamos
green card recipients
que
had
los
nothing to be
recipientes
afraid
del
of.
green card no tenían
Right?
por qué
They have the green
estar
card.
atemorizarse, tenían
So
el green
what
card.
if they're not a
Pero,
citizen
¿qué
yet?
si
It could
no
be
eran
deported.
ciudadanos ya y podían ser
So what if,
deportados?
even if they became a
Que
citizen, they
si
could be
se
denaturalized
desnaturalizaban,
and
podían ser
deported. They
desnaturalizados y
still had
deportados. Aún
a
así,
big
tenían
measure
una
of
gran medida
support
de
that
apoyo con ese green
Well,
card.
guess what?
Bueno, pues ¿qué
As
crees?
we're going to see on this
Como
slide
podemos
very
ver en
quickly,
esta
it
diapositiva
turns out
rápidamente
that
sucede
a
que
very large
una
proportion
gran
of new
proporción
green
de
card
nuevos
recipients
recipientes de green
are
card
previous illegals.
son ilegales.
Moreover,
Han sido
it
ilegales
turns out
y aún así
that
sucede
many
que
green card
muchos de
recipients
estos
live
dependen-
with illegals,
estos
have
recipientes de green
unauthorized
card viven
persons
con
in
ilegales,
their
con
families,
personas
in
no
their
autorizadas en sus
homes.
familias, en sus
So it
casas.
is not
Así que
difficult to
no es
understand
difícil entender
that
que
they very
ellos
apprehensive
estaban muy
participating
aprensivos
in
en
that
participar
second
en esa segunda ronda.
All right, we still have the
Aún
scientific
tenemos
questions
las
to answer
preguntas
for a second.
científicas
Who will become a
en
citizen? When?
nuestro muestreo. ¿Quién será
Will they
ciudadano
naturalize?
y
Will
quién
children
será
derive
naturalizada?
citizenship?
Desnaturalizada,
Will they
o
be
quién
sponsored
ciudadanos o
relatives
que serán apoyados
to get
por
green cards?
sus
And if so, which
parientes para
relatives and when?
tener el green card y cuándo será esto.
Obviously, it'll
Y
be important to
obviamente será
analyze the
importante
relationship
analizar
between
las
those
relaciones
behaviors
entre sus
and
comportamientos,
residents,
los residentes y los
remittances,
residentes
and who will be in the U.S.
quién dejará los Estados Unidos y cuándo.
That's where you can get
Esto
the
es
data.
donde
So now
puedes
let's look
obtener
at it. Let's
información
very
y
briefly.
veamos brevemente.
I'm going to go right to
Directamente
illegal
a la
experience
experiencia
because
de
this
la
helps us
colonia ilegal,
understand
porque esto
the
nos hace
second
entender
round.
la segunda
And by the
ronda
way,
y
all of us are
muchos de
aligned
nosotros
with David Reed
estamos de acuerdo con David Williams.
When the third round
Cuando la tercera
comes,
ronda
as I said, I
llega y
hope
dijo,
that it
yo
will.
tengo la esperanza
The
de
third round comes,
que en
we're
la
going to
tercera
go back to
ronda
everyone.
vamos a ver a
Whether or
estar a
not they
todos los que
participate
utilizamos en la segunda ronda.
So a
Así
total
que hay
of
un
almost
total de
39%
casi
of green
39%
card
de
recipients
nuevos
were
recipientes de Green Card
previously in the
habían
U.S.
sido
in
previamente
unauthorized
habían
status.
estado
And
en
by
Estados
the
Unidos
way,
de
that's
manera
a lower
inautorizada.
bar
Y
because
esto
there are
es
other
una
ways they could
población
have become
menor
illegal
porque es
that
la
we
manera de
were
que
not
los
able to
ilegales
detect.
que no pudimos
Such
detectar,
as
así
working
como
without permission
trabajar
in
sin
certain
permiso en
cases.
ciertos casos.
This just pulls
Esto
together the
nos
percent
une
formerly
a
illegal
la
by visa
presentar la legalidad por
So you
estado,
can see that
por
among
estatus. Así que
persons
vemos
who
que
get
las
their green
personas
cards
que
by
obtienen su
marrying
green
a
card por
U.S. citizen,
matrimonio
and that's
con
far
un
and away
ciudadano
the
americano,
largest group.
esa es la regla más
Half,
grande.
around half, have previously
Alrededor de la
released.
mitad tienen esta experiencia.
I'm going to, in the interest of time, I'll let you ask me, and I'll be happy to come
Hacer
back.
preguntas más tarde, si
Look at
gustan
that.
sobre este tema. Y
I'll skip those, but I don't
saltaré
want
eso,
there's
pero
something
no,
at the bottom
hay
of this
algo al
slide that's
final
very
de esta diapositiva que es muy
One of the
interesante.
questions at the
Una de las
baseline
preguntas
round was about
era
intention to
sobre la
stay
intención de
in the
quedarse en los
United
Estados
States.
Unidos.
And there were three
Y había
response
tres
categories that you can
respuestas,
see.
tres
No,
categorías de respuestas,
uncertain,
no,
yes.
inciertos.
And then you see the
Y pueden
proportions
ver la
for the total
proporción para el
and for
total
those
y
with
para
previous
aquellos
illegal
que han
experience.
tenido experiencias
And
previas de
one of the
legalidad. Y una
fascinating
de las cosas más
things is that
fascinantes
persons
es
who
que
have
las
been
personas que
in the U.S.
han estado en Estados Unidos ilegalmente
have a
han
larger
tenido una
proportion of
gran
saying,
proporción de
yes, they
decir
will stay.
sí se quedarían en estos Estados
Now,
Unidos.
every time I see
Cada
this,
vez que veo
I
esto,
think
yo
of
pienso
how hard
en
they
qué tan
worked for this,
duro han
and now they
trabajado para
have
esto
it
y
their
ahora
way.
lo tienen y ahora lo van a
And
mantener.
it also
Y
makes me
también
think
me
of
hace pensar
Jacob
de
working 14
Jacob
years to
trabajando
marry
14
Rachel.
años para casarse con Raquel.
This is something
Y esto
precious
es algo
that they have.
muy hermoso que tienen.
Now, we do have
También
those down to
tenemos
data,
esa
and they're
información de la
starting to
segunda
be
ronda
used.
y
They're available for
están
public
ya
use.
disponibles para el
Lots of
público.
people around
Y
the world are
muchas
using
personas
them.
en el
I
mundo están
use them.
utilizándolos. Yo las estoy
And this
utilizando.
slide and the
Y
next
esta
slide
diapositiva y la
shows
siguiente
that
muestran
if
que
all we looked at in the
lo que
world
vemos
were
en el
visa
mundo
class,
como los
country
tipos de
of origin,
visa, el
there's
origen
not much
del país de
difference
origen, hay mucha
between the
diferencia entre
composition
la
and round
composición
one
de
and
la
round two.
ronda 1 de la
Of
ronda
course,
2.
as everybody in this group
Obviamente,
knows,
todos en este
there's
cuarto,
all
como
those
ustedes
other
saben, todas
things
aquellas
that we lump
cosas
together
que
as uncertain
unimos y que no
heterogeneity
son
that are at work.
inobservables
And
en
so
su
we
trabajo,
have to use all our
tenemos que
best
utilizar
statistical
nuestras
and
mejores
tools.
mejores herramientas estadísticas y económicas para manejar la
Now,
información.
I'm going to linger a little on
Voy
this
a
question
un
on
poquito
sponsorship.
sobre
This
esta
was asked in the
pregunta
second
sobre
round.
lo que es
Since you became
el
a legal
apoyo.
permanent resident, have you yourself
Desde que
filed a
te
petition
convertiste
in
en
the
un residente
process to
permanente,
bring a relative
has
to live
pedido, has
permanently in the United States?
llenado la petición para iniciar
And
el
yes,
proceso para
they
ser
have.
residente
And it
permanente.
turns out
Y
about
sí,
10%
sucede que el 10%
have petitioned for relatives
han hecho
already,
esta
and
solicitud
about
y
6%
solamente
have petitioned for
6%
children.
lo han hecho
So
para sus
this
hijos.
is already
Así
telling
que
us
esto ya
something
nos
about
está diciendo algo sobre el comportamiento.
either
Ya
those
sea que
children that they
esos
are
niños
petitioning
que
for
están
were
solicitando
too old to
eran
be
muy
eligible at round
grandes ya
one.
para ser elegibles en la ronda 1 o
The family
la
is now
familia
in a better
está ahora
economic
en una mejor
circumstance
situación
and now meet the
económica y
financial
ahora
requirements
puede
for sponsoring.
suplir los requerimientos económicos para apoyar.
Again, I'm going to skip this
Quería
detail
sacarme este detalle
and go to a
y
second
a
question
una segunda
about two.
pregunta en la
Remember
ronda
those
2.
conditionality
¿Recuerdan
restrictions?
esas restricciones
Well, there's a question in
condicionantes?
round
Hay una
two.
pregunta en la ronda
What's
2.
happened?
¿Y qué sucedió?
So here's what we
Aquí
have.
es lo que tenemos.
About 2/3 of the sample
Tercios del
filed
muestreo
the restrictions.
pidieron
Now,
que
this
se
is
removiera la restricción.
long
Y
after that
esto es
2-year
mucho
period.
tiempo después de ese periodo de 2 años.
So a third did
Un
not
tercio
file
no solicitaron
to remove their
para que se
conditionality
les
restrictions. And
removiera
then you
esta
see that the
restricción. Y
conditionality
pueden ver que
restrictions
las
were removed to
restricciones de condicionalidad se mueren de
61%. The petition is
61%
pending
y la
for 3%,
solicitud está
denied
pendiente para
for
3%,
2.6%.
negada para el 2.6% y el 8%
And
no ha hecho la solicitud.
interesting,
Y interesantemente, el 19% negó haber tenido una visa condicionada.
We know
Nosotros
they had a
sabíamos
conditional
que
visa
tenía
because when we
una
drew
visa
the
condicional,
sample,
porque cuando hicimos el
we
muestreo
were given
se nos
the
dio
details of their
los
new
detalles de
green
su
card
nuevo
from
green
the
card
government.
por parte
And
del
those
gobierno.
details
Y esos
include visa
detalles
category.
incluían también la
And the
categoría de
visa
la visa.
category
Y la
tells
visa categoría de la
whether
visa te
there's a
dice si hay una
conditional
condicionalidad o no.
So the bottom line
Así que
is
en
that
el
up
fondo
to
es que hasta el
39%
39%
may have lapsed into
seguramente
illegality
entraron en la ilegalidad.
of this group, the
Hablando de este
conditionality
grupo,
restriction.
la
So
restricción.
again,
Así
this
que de nuevo,
helps us
esto nos ayuda a
understand
entender
that how
cómo
the combination
la
of their
combinación
personal
de sus
circumstances
circunstancias
and that
personales y
extraordinary
ese
change
cambio
in
extraordinario
the U.S.
en los
political
Estados
climate
Unidos
of
y su clima
immigration
político sobre la inmigración
combined to
se combinaron para producir esa
response rate
baja
under 50%
respuesta
in round
menor al 50%
two.
en la
So
ronda
now,
número 2.
last few
Así
slides.
que las últimas diapositivas.
How to maximize
¿Cómo
the scientific
maximizar
Obviously, we
el
want to do
resultado
cohort.
científico?
Obviously, we
Obviamente
want
queremos
to
una
run
cohorte,
three.
queremos
What
una
else
ronda
can we
3.
do?
¿Qué más podemos hacer?
Well,
Pues
administrative
también
data
la
exists
información
on
administrativa
removal of
existe
conditionality
y
restrictions.
también las restricciones
We
como
could get that
removerlas. Podemos
information for
obtener esa
everyone
información
if-
para todos. Sí,
If
sí.
the privacy curtain were
Si
lifted
la cortina de
and
privacidad
researchers
se
were allowed
levantara y los
access
investigadores se les
to those
permitiera
data.
accesar a esa
Okay?
información.
Same thing with green
Lo
card
mismo
renewal.
sucedería con la renovación del green
These
card.
persons in the
Estas
2003
personas
report
en
and
el
the
reporte
earlier
del
ones in
2003 y aquellos
1996
previos al
are
2003
way past the 10-year
han
expiration of
pasado
the green
ya
card. We could
el
learn
vencimiento del green
who
card de
renewed
10
the green
años
cards and
y
who did
sabremos
not.
quién la renovó y
That
quién no.
would shed a
Y
lot of light
eso
on immigration.
nos daría una
for
gran luz
example.
sobre la inmigración.
Residential mobility.
La movilidad
There's a government
residencial.
database,
Hay información
which we
gubernamental
used
que
when we were in the
utilizamos
middle of
cuando
data
estábamos en medio de la
collection
recolección de la
because
información de
at
la
that
ronda 1,
time we
porque
had
en aquel
permission
momento
to use
teníamos
it.
permiso para utilizarla.
After that, the
Después
privacy
de
curtain
eso, la
descended
cortina de
and we could no
privacidad
longer
cayó y
access
no
those
pudimos
files.
accesar
And those
esa
files are
información.
extremely
Y esos
useful to
archivos
know
son muy
exactly who each
útiles
person
para
has
saber
gone,
exactamente a dónde ha
because
ido
they
cada
are
persona,
required by
porque se
law.
requieren
Green
por
card
ley
recipients are
para los
required
recipientes de
to
Green
file
Card
a
y tienen que
change of
llenar
address form.
la información de cambio de
I think
domicilio.
it's within 10
Y yo
days.
creo que es 10 días después del cambio de domicilio.
Citizenship,
La ciudadanía,
naturalization
la
among
naturalización entre adultos.
this is something we
Esto
could
es algo que
easily
podríamos
learn
fácilmente
because there's
aprender
a common
porque hay un
identifier.
identificador común.
But if we don't
Pero
have
si no
access,
tenemos acceso a esto,
derived citizenship is more
la
difficult to
nacionalidad
learn, but we're
correcta es
confident
difícil de
that
aprender, pero
combining
tenemos
the
confianza
right
que
kinds of
combinando
administrative
la
data, we
nueva información
could
administrativa
nail that
correcta podríamos también
And
accesar
sponsorship
a
is
esto.
easy
Y obviamente
because there's
tener
that
un
form
patrocinio,
I-130 that
obviamente
every person
cada
must file
persona
before you
que
sponsor.
estaba
So
en
this would
nuestros archivos
maximize the
tenían un
scientific
pariente
payoff.
que lo mantenía.
Enormous.
Así que esta
as I
información nos
said,
ayudaría enormemente. Y como lo
I'm
he
hopeful,
dicho, yo tengo la
only this
esperanza
year,
de que no será este
probably
año,
not
a lo
next
mejor
year.
no el
These are
próximo.
political years
Estos
in
son
the
años
United
políticos
States,
en Estados
but I am
Unidos,
hopeful
pero
that
tengo la esperanza
good sense and
de
good judgment will
que
prevail.
habrá buen juicio que
How else
ayudará
can we
a nuestro
maximize
país. ¿Cómo más
scientific
podemos maximizar
Well,
resultados científicos?
It's
Pues
possible
es
to design a
posible
study
diseñar un
to look
estudio
at survey
para
effects,
hacer los efectos de la
contrast
encuesta,
two
los
groups, those
contrastar los
invited to
grupos,
participate
y,
in the survey,
dividirlo en un
and
nuevo
those
grupo de
not.
participantes y aquellos
This
que no
goes to that
participan.
question
Y eso va a
that
la
one of you
pregunta
asked
que uno de ustedes hizo
before lunch.
antes de la comida.
And
Y
because we would
porque
have that same
tendríamos
information
esa
on
misma información
naturalization,
en la
on
naturalización,
green card
en
renewal,
el
on
renovo, en la
sponsorship,
renovación
we
del
would
green
have for
card, de los
everyone, whether or not they were
patrocinios, de
in the
sí o
sample.
no habrá
We would
muestra
be
de
able to
migrantes
tell
y
whether
seremos
having
capaces
been
de decir
invited or
si
having
han sido
participated
invitados o han
had some
participado
visible,
o si habrá
had some
alguna
visible
un efecto
examining
visible
differences in
y
immigration,
examinando diferentes sistemas de naturalización, fluidez en el inglés,
naturalization data, for example.
obviamente de la información de la
How else can we
naturalización.
maximize the
¿Cómo
scientific
poder
payoff?
mejor maximizar estos comparativos
It
de
turns out that the
factores? Que
1996
la
cohort is
factura
very, very
96 es
special.
muy especial.
1996 was the
96
last
fue el último año
before the
antes
new,
de
very
la nueva
very
y
stringent
muy
requirements
estrictos
on
requisitos
finances,
sobre
some
los
financial
finanzas,
requirements
los
kicked in.
financieros que
And they all kicked in
empezaron
1997. So comparing the 96 over without affidavit of support, etc., 2004 with extremely valid. Then, I don't know how many of you in this room are familiar with this, but for many years, there has been this puzzle underlying immigration work in the U.S. and that is the following. There's a list every year of people that we and we know from the visa number that some are principals and some are spouses and some are children. But we don't know who goes with who. Nobody's ever known. We've tried. Many people have tried. And I think that that question could be usefully revisited. Looking at new immigrant survey data combined with administrative data, and it might be possible to formulate a protocol for going from those lists of individuals with green cards to reconstituted families of green card recipients. And then, of course, more elaborate families, such as you see here, in the case of a spouse with a U.S. citizen visa, who have biological children of the spouse or stepchildren of the U.S. citizen, and the U.S. citizen may have biological children as well. There's some results in the literature about that. Very little so far. And then finally, to maximize scientific data, interview entirely. In the new immigrant survey, we interviewed the main sample immigrant and the spouse, and up to 2 age-eligible children. Okay? Now we know. Rebecca talked this morning about how we're learning, how the frontier of knowledge is moving. One of the things that we've learned is that we can't understand a lot of decisions, a lot of things that migrants do, unless we have information directly from all the other relevant actors. Because the migration process involves many persons. So, for example, the decision to include eligible children in an LPR application and or to take them to the United States involves lots of people. Parents, children, a variety of possible caretakers, and competitors for the caretaker's time. So you need siblings, children, parents, you need lots of people. So for planning the next incarnation of the new immigrant survey, I think the plan will be to go from the household survey to a true family survey. Okay, this is what I looked at. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your comments and questions.
Guillermina, for your very nice talk. I have time for one question for each speaker. To give you President President Paula. Two questions. One for Guillermina, one for Paula. Okay, so who? Delfina, please.
This question is for Guillermina. Thank you for the talk. In this study, are you planning or do you have in mind having instruments for measuring acculturation, enculturation, identity formation for these people? Or it's just facts that we saw in the
That's a wonderful question. I was joking with Paula earlier about how when we first designed the questionnaire, we had a questionnaire that would last 10 hours. And then, of course, we had to cut it. So yes, we have we do have drafts about all those things. However, the only questions that are currently in the Woodward survey are factual questions about language use, for example. With whom do you use which language? And incidentally, there's a huge variety. We learned a lot from looking at this data about what people are doing. Also, there's information on language history. So what language did the person use when they were age 10 with their parents? Then there's also a religion history. And again, that gives you a lot of information about how they are changing. So people who once had a religion no longer have any religion. People who once had no religion, and we know who they are, most of them are from countries of the former Soviet Union. Many of them now do have religion. And a lot of them you can get right from that first round. And it starts to illuminate what they are thinking about themselves. But of course, we have all those questions not yet used that will get to the heart of identity.
Thank you very much, Guillermina. Is there any question from Paula? Okay, thank you.
Muchas gracias.
My question is, how long it took to analyze this information, because it obviously has like a lot of qualitative data, and how many people analyze this information?
Thank you. So as you said, the time diary really is a qualitative document. There's a code frame developed for coding that information that is largely derived from time diaries of adult time use, and then has appended to it codes that are appropriate for child-specific behavior. And so we have a team that codes that over about 6 months. And once it becomes quantitative data, it's much easier to manipulate. There's some amount of detail, but things really do constellate around recognizable but distinct topics. So I think the coding is an accurate representation of what's in that qualitative data. It's a very widely used component of CDS data. I can't give you the proportion of papers that are off of the time diary data, but these are the only nationally representative time use data we have for children. So it's a very widely used resource for a whole lot of things. Studies of health behaviors, sleeping, time with friends, time with parents. So a variety of disciplines is a really unique kind of method for analysis.
Thank you very much. I suppose those calendars are kind of very important for weighing how it evolves over time. I think if we ever get a cohort of children here, we will need to have some kind of that kind of calendar. So I think that's one of the most interesting parts of the child development study. So thank you very much. Okay, so I think we have a break of around 10 minutes, something like that. We are supposed to be back at 15:10, at 5:10 for our last talk. So, yes, so it's a 2 minutes break. So, sorry.